Good afternoon and welcome to Paul T's World. And in this episode, we're going to have a look at the front garden. We had a look at the back garden a couple of days ago, so now I want to show you the front garden because there are some nice shrubs in flower. Now, I can't tell you that it has been good weather in May so far in England. We've had everything, hailstones, hard rain, thunderstorms, and this is brilliant. I love it, absolutely love it. The garden is really loving it. Can you hear the blackbird? The blackbird's singing out in the garden in the pouring rain. It's a sandy garden, so it never ever floods here in this garden. But look at this today. I'm like a little kid. You know those little kids when they see a puddle, you jump in it? I feel like that today. Fabulous. Singing away in the pouring rain. There he is. So I've got a swimming pool, at long last, a swimming pool. I went crazy yesterday buying hostas. They're liking this weather. The sun's out now, the temperatures are warming up, and the plants are responding. And one of my favourite rhododendrons is this little, I say little, it's supposed to be a dwarf rhododendron, but it has grown quite a lot over the years. It started off about the size of this evergreen azalea, which is also looking rather nice. And now it's this gorgeous large rhododendron in what I call the upper terrace. Now it's next to another dwarf rhododendron, and this one flowers in March. And I would say this one is just about at its peak. Gorgeous. And of course, in flower, that we've had in flower for quite a long time, are the aubrietia and the creeping phlox. They're probably just about past their best now. Oh, and obviously, being Paul T's World, we have got to have a little look at the candy tuft. Still flowering away. And before we go into the front garden proper, let's have a look at this evergreen clematis. Now, I showed it you before the flowers were out, and I didn't know whether it would flower very well at all this year because it didn't seem so happy, but in actual fact, I think that's not too bad. As I mentioned in another video, it used to flower all the way along the length here. It's just struggling now, so maybe it's time to take it out of the pot. It's quite a large pot, but it is a clematis and they do better in the ground. The sedum spectabile, putting on some nice growth. I divided these early on in the year, and they've responded really well. And what have we got here? Here is the Daphne that you first saw in a pot. So I thought it would look nice here along the pathway going to the front door, as it scents beautifully, alongside the Philadelphus here. which has this Lithidora growing through it. Look at that. It's supposed to be ground cover, but it touched the Philadelphus and decided it was going to be a climber. And that's what it's going to be for this year. But as soon as it's finished flowering, I'm going to cut it back and have it as ground cover again. I've got some osteospermum here. In fact, I'll just go around the other side. I've put them here so they'll start flowering right at the edge of the wall. Always reminds me of the seaside, these osteospermum, just starting to flower now. And I also moved some and put them here. So they can grow up and also shine their little faces over the wall. Oh, and just behind here, these are Antirrhinum, snapdragons. The other candy tuft here, the Daphne, and just behind, this is where I decided to put the Catinus. The yellow-leafed Catinus, because I thought it's going to grow big and I'm going to grow it like a tree. So I thought on the corner of the house here, it can grow as high as it likes. And so in the years to come, that's going to go 20 feet high. The fuchsia here must be 20 years old. Flowers beautifully every year. I usually leave it alone, but really, it wants pruning, and so I've just pruned it back a little bit this year. But I know that you can actually prune them virtually to the ground. In fact, you can see here all the new growth. There we are, all the new growth coming from the base. That's great to see in a shrub, because you know that you can prune that back right to the base then, if you want to, in very early spring. And here are those two little rhododendrons that I planted last year. It was last September, wasn't it? I did a video on planting these two, and you know what? I've now remembered that this one here, this little one here, is in fact a wren. It is the rhododendron wren, and guess what I bought the other day for the shed bed? A rhododendron wren, and I've forgotten I already had one. And here is the other little rhododendron that I planted and showed in the video of last year. And it is going to flower as well, so they're flowering rather late. So in this bed, we've got azaleas and rhododendrons. Some of them flower early, and some flower late. In actual fact, what have we got here now? This one is a late flowerer. It's sort of bluey purple. The white one is now over. We saw that in a video in April. The two little rhodies that are in flower and coming into flower. This one's a fairly early one, and as you can see, it is just about over. And now the one behind is starting in flower. And while we're here in this corner, some of this privet is starting to die. I'm not really sure why. I've planted a Viburnum tinus, which in actual fact is just a seedling from this one here next to it, which is growing rather large. And so I planted this tinus here, Viburnum, just in case I needed it, but in fact I haven't, because next door is this laurel that has grown through, and so it's thickening up the hedge here. Oh, looks like we've got a bramble here. And next to it is the euonymus, and as soon as this euonymus, that was only about 2 feet high when I arrived at the house, as soon as it touched the hedge, look what it did. It grew right up the hedge. I love it because it's totally evergreen. So I'm liking that a lot. And just while we're here, let's just have a look at the side of the garage, and we can see I've planted 3 buddleia. This is a really dry area, sand, total sand, and I have 3 buddleia there. They grow really big. They arch over the top of this flat roof and the butterflies love them. They're 3 different types. The climbing roses are doing well. I'm really pleased with the effect here. Look at this. Do you remember when I bent this over and left these to grow up and said that they would send up shoots, strong shoots, when the lateral stems are horizontal? This has done exactly that. Oh, and here, you can see here, here's the other one that I bent over, and we've got these shoots coming straight up strongly from the horizontal. And this one, Golden Showers, actually has its first flower just up there. Plenty of buds. And these scent beautifully. Dancing Queen, this one. The azalea that's in the pot is over now, just about. It did well. I refreshed that pot in the spring. Probably should have done it earlier than I did, but it still managed to flower. And what we've got here is quite exciting because I've planted up a container, and this container has a, what does it have? It has a canna lily that's been given to me by a neighbour. 2 canna lilies he had, and he split his because he does really well with his cannas. So I've popped it in a container along with, what are they, Thousand Bells, and this geranium here. And here we've got a hydrangea in a pot, Paniculata. So obviously I am very excited about that. Let's go and have a look at the Viburnum tinus that has the Clematis montana growing up it. It's doing really well. In fact, once it's finished flowering, I think I'd better cut this viburnum down a little bit, and also the clematis. Now, talking of hydrangeas, we have to move over to the mophead and another paniculata. Passing, of course, the laurel that I cloud pruned last year. This is a Macrophylla mophead, big leafed big leafed hydrangea. The dwarf rhododendron. Now, these rhododendrons are really liked by the bees. In fact, that's a honeybee. We have lots of bumblebees, but I've just noticed a humblebee go by. This is a paniculata, and you know, I don't actually know what variety it is. And as we are talking about azaleas, we'll go over to one of my azalea beds via the Choisea ternata. So I have all ericaceous plants in this bed here. The earliest evergreen is now over, evergreen azalea. And let's move over to those two I inherited and planted in a video last year. We've had some heavy rain, and there's so much flower on here that the rain has bowed it over. Look at that. Now, what I wanted to tell you about these two, and this one in particular, is just have a look how flat they are, facing forwards. Look at that. And that is because these two azaleas were under an oak tree, and they literally faced the light. So I'm anticipating now that they'll bush up and be a much more normal shape, now that they've got light all round. In front of these is the mophead that I planted the other day. You know, the one I split? I split it into about 4. So one of them's in the shed bed and the other one's here. And what is going to be really interesting with these mopheads, there's 4 of the split ones that I've planted in various places, is what colour they turn out. I took a cutting of a lace cap the other year, which is actually in the back garden, and it is a totally different colour from the lace cap that it's its parent. So it's going to be really interesting to see. The original parent was pink, and now I've got them round the garden. We can actually see how much my soil is different around the garden, whether it's acidic or whether it's alkaline. Because the macrophyllars, the lace caps and the mopheads, they change colour depending on the acidity of the soil. And the paniculatas don't. They stay true to their own colour. Look at this plant that I've put in front of the mophead. I bought this at a local nursery. It was about £10, a deciduous azalea, and it is going to flower. And I've got a feeling, if I remember, oh, here we are, it's just starting. Look at that, I think it's white. So because it's white, I planted it away from that azalea there, which is white, and I've popped it in front of these 2 red ones. So that's exciting, and it's going to flower well. Look at all those flower buds. And then the mophead that I don't really know what colour is going to be. And the mophead that'll be a surprise colour. In fact, 2 of the split mophead hydrangea are here. That's one of them, and the other one, I've just remembered, is behind me. There we are. This one didn't have much in the way of roots, so it may or may not survive. We'll see how it does. I really like that my front garden is virtually on 2 levels. Really adds interest to the garden when you have different levels. If you don't have different levels, well, maybe plant trees to give height to one part of the garden. Another mophead hydrangea here. This is a white one. And what's interesting with this one is it illustrates really well how they grow from the base. Look at all that new growth coming from the base there. So I know that this is going to grow. Oh, look at this. You see, this could be cut off. There we are. There's nothing there and there's nothing there. So these could be Well, there's a bud there actually, so I could cut it down to there, couldn't I? But it's growing brilliantly from the base. So that means next year I can take off a third of these older stems, keep the plant healthy. And in front, we have the penstemons. Now, I'd said on a few occasions last year and earlier this year that they were being neglected. Well, they haven't now. I've actually cut them right back. So I did this probably about 6 weeks ago. And they're going to grow from the base to flowering this summer. I've got a tree heather here. When I bought this, it said on the label up to 2 feet high, and it's grown to about 6 feet. And overshadowing this little area here is a crabapple. The flowers are over, but I did take a video of it when it was at its best. Everything's growing beautifully, everything's had plenty of water, too much water. I was doing a rain dance in April and now I'm saying that's it, that's fine, we're okay for water for the moment. Thank you for joining me today and I'll see you next time in Paul T's World.